Hello everybody, and Happy New Year. As 2024 draws to a conclusion, I want to take a quick look back on the last 12 months. This is mainly a way to make sure you didn't miss anything and talk a little bit about what's in store for 2025. In 2024, we put out 14 documentaries, many of them full-length ones on my main channel, as well as a couple of other ones on the HFX Animations channel and the Steam and Splendor Network, a channel here on YouTube by historians for historians that I am supporting and sponsoring. Some of these documentaries were exploring remote ghost towns. Others were diving into maritime history, and others went into genres that I hadn't yet covered on my channel. We visited wrecks, looked at artifacts, and met with several historians along the way.
I thought I had seen everything that there was to see about the Atlantic, but obviously not.
As always, a shout out to my friend Alex Muller for putting together the amazing animations in Unreal Engine 5 for several of the documentaries this year. The first video of the year was a behemoth, with my first railroad-oriented film in over a year. In cooperation with the Historical Association of Woodbridge Township and author Gordon Bond, we started the year with a bang by diving into the wreck of the Broker, a commuter steam train that derailed in New Jersey in 1951. Many of the factors that contributed to the disaster were still unclear going into this project. But with these historians, experienced steam engineers, survivors, and our detailed recreations, we were able to answer most of the mysteries that persisted over the last 70-some years since the wreck. It premiered to a packed theater in Woodbridge, New Jersey, only about a mile from the actual wreck site, in February, and gave a great publicity boost to the Historical Association that we worked with. The next video was one that I didn't anticipate doing, but when a non-profit project approaches us with a vision that we support, we are often eager to help. In March, we joined up with the RMS Olympic Steinway Association in their effort to acquire the last publicly known piano from the Olympic, sister of the infamous RMS Titanic. In the video, we talked about the history of the piano and the story of its identical twin, which sank to the sea floor. We promoted their efforts and supported them in their goal to share the treasure with the world. Just in time for the anniversary of the sinking of the SS Atlantic, we concluded a long-standing mystery on my channel. In the quest to find the headstone belonging to two of the saloon-class victims, we recapped my journey to find it with several historians involved in the hunt, which brought us across the continent to a ghost town in the desert before finally finding the answer and paying our respects at the final resting place of Lauriston and Lillian Davidson.
I thought I had seen everything that there was to see about the Atlantic, but obviously not. And I know I've walked past this because I came down and I looked at every single headstone in this cemetery.
In April, we held our traditional Titanic anniversary live stream, something that I've been hosting for over a decade now. We were joined by our usual friends Ken Marshall, George Behe, J. Kent Layton, Tad Fitch, Bill Wormstead, Alex Muller, and Levi Rourke, but also with us this year were renowned Titanic historians Don Lynch and Mark Churnside. One of our other long-standing collaborators, Mike Poirier, had recently uncovered photographs of the Titanic not believed to be published since 1912. And while he would be publishing them in full resolution in the Journal of the Titanic International Society a week later, he kindly allowed us to share sample versions of them in our stream. Overall, it was a great stream and we all felt honored to commemorate the disaster with our listeners. Next, we were off to the West Coast, back to the Columbia River, where I've told several stories in the past. This time we visited Cape Disappointment to tell the story of the SS LAUREL, a lumber freighter that left port overloaded and grounded out in a terrible storm. This little-known story was finally brought to life with detailed animations, and it was, as always, a pleasure to work with the Columbia River Maritime Museum in Astoria, Oregon. Sticking to the west coast, we moved south to Catalina Island, California, to explore the unique architecture of the island's famous Art Deco masterpieces. We saw parts of the Avalon casino that visitors never get to see, climbing into the framework and exploring the building's remarkable history. Before moving out to the Avalon Chime Tower and the Wrigley Memorial and Botanical Gardens. This project was one of my first commissioned documentaries, and while it's not a subject I expected to cover, I had a lot of fun doing it, and my viewers seemed to enjoy it as well. Moving to the East Coast and moving farther north, we were up in Nova Scotia, a familiar backdrop for maritime documentaries on this channel, but this time we were covering a more recent story, a terrible circus ship fire that broke out at the Yarmouth waterfront, with local firefighters and civilians racing to save the trapped animals aboard the burning and sinking SS FLEURUS. Then came the first new ghost town video of the year. This one out in the open plains of North Dakota. The ruins of Griffin little resembled the town that once stood here, but that didn't stop us from exploring the old schoolhouse, old freight cars, and abandoned homes and trailers that scatter the landscape. Back in Nova Scotia, we explored one of the few visible shipwrecks in the province that can readily be explored. The SS Daisy saw action in the First World War, fought bootleggers during Prohibition, and even survived a tsunami before being brought to Halifax Harbor, scuttled, and buried in reclaimed land. Leaving one explorable wreck behind for another, less photogenic one, we returned to Astoria to survey the bones in the mud that once belonged to the Queen of the Columbia River, the steamboat T.J. Potter. Potter had a long career on the river, and even up in Puget Sound, though she's sat here rotting away for almost a century. As you can see, there's not much left. In October came a massive story, a production over 2 years in the making. The Allen Line steamer Hungarian, while sailing from Liverpool, England to Portland, Maine, somehow went off course and crashed on a ledge a mile and a half off the southernmost tip of Nova Scotia. We will never know for sure what happened, as all 205 poor souls on board were lost in the disaster, but this video thoroughly tells their story with local interviews, recreated historical music pieces, and detailed animations of the wreck featuring a model built from the ship's original plans. Going a step further, in the following video, we explored the islands where eyewitnesses watched the Hungarian disaster unfold, discovering the remains of the houses of some of the witnesses, while also looking into other history of the island, including other shipwrecks, and even the island's former Marconi station, instrumental in the Titanic disaster of 1912. We looked at the wreck of another Allen liner, the SS Indian, which grounded in Nova Scotia only a few months prior to the wreck of the Hungarian. The Indian was the ultimate in unknown maritime disasters as far as I'm concerned, as so little information existed on it, and yet we were able to uncover quite the narrative and shine new light on the history of the Allen line. Returning to my home state of Pennsylvania, we joined local historian Vince Hydro in uncovering the remains of the lost town of Lausanne. Okay, that's a poor choice of wording. There were no remains. The town is completely gone, and the exploration was nothing more than ghost stories. But we did look at other ruins nearby that are frequently mislabeled as the town of Lausanne, and explored the old stagecoach road that followed along an ancient Native American walking path. Hopefully, our expedition will help clarify what ruins are out there for any hikers moving through the area. The final video of the year was another Pennsylvania tale, but one very different from what I've covered here before. We visited Lower Bucks County, where the Continental Army was encamped at the most desperate point of the American Revolution. We followed in the footsteps of General George Washington as he led a portion of his battered army across the Delaware River, marching south to the Hessian forces of Trenton, New Jersey, and engaged in a massive American victory that gave the new nation hope when all else was lost. Partway through the year, I launched a small side channel on YouTube, where I would host additional material produced from my primary channel's documentaries. The HFX Studios Animations and Archives channel can be found at the link below, and there you'll find complete animation reels of the thrilling CGI sequences produced for my documentaries. I'll also be posting interviews with people of interest and, honestly, anything else that I feel is worth sharing with the public that didn't quite fit on my main channel. As I said earlier, we also launched the Steam and Splendor Network, where our team's historians can really run free, sharing their research and research of our collaborators directly with the viewer in a more detailed and intimate setting. There you'll see videos by J. Kent Layton, Tad Fitch, and soon enough other historians like Bill Sauter directly posting their own content. I'll occasionally produce my own videos on there as well when I have the time, but a true highlight of the channel lately has been music videos of the White Star Line songbook, performed by the same folks behind the RMS Olympic Steinway Association. Volume 1 of our two-part book series on the life and loss of the RMS Lusitania was published in August of this year, which features dramatic screenshots from our upcoming virtual museum experience, Lusitania: The Greyhound's Wake. We've been developing the project in our free time and will soon allow you to explore the ship's decks, venture inside her opulent interiors, and learn about the ship like never before. We've kept our progress on the virtual museum quiet lately for various reasons, but mainly because, to be blunt, there are some individuals who are actively slandering and harassing our team and project in order to cause trouble and slow us down. I know we've alluded to this before, but it is something that has been incredibly taxing mentally for all of us. So we just keep our noses to the grindstone and keep progress going. Our work, when completed, will speak for itself. We have no plans on stopping, and we will see this project through. We worked on several other large contractor projects which kept us busy for a large portion of the year. We were brought on to produce animations of various scenes for a Canadian documentary called Where the Cottonwoods Grow, which featured sweeping vistas and even a variation of our SS Hungarian model posing as her sister ship, the Nova Scotian. Alex really knocked it out of the park on that one, and he did it again when we collaborated with Jake from Bright Sun Films on his recent documentary on the Mediterranean Skies shipwreck. The animation reel of that is out on our HFX channel as well. We also licensed some of our CGI to several documentaries, including our Mary Celeste material to William Shatner's The Unexplained. Our work has even been featured on the cover of Stephen Schwankert's new book, The Six, about the Chinese passengers aboard the Titanic, published by the History Press. Our team loves partnering with museums and nonprofits to help support their causes with our work, but we often continue to help them out even after our productions are finished. We've been heavily involved with the SS Milwaukee Clipper, and I've even produced promo videos for them, and, fun enough, the introduction of their Halloween haunted house attraction. YouTube revenue is dropping in the past year for most creators like me, so I cannot express enough how greatly I appreciate the support of my subscribers on Patreon. That extra funding has helped me to expand the scope of these videos, as well as helping to support my team and my family. My top-tier supporters on there receive artifacts in the mail relating to some of the videos that I publish. In 2024, their gifts included a souvenir photo slide from the SS Milwaukee Clipper, as well as napkins and coasters from the ship's career, coal from the tender of the wreck of the Broker, and soon they'll be receiving replica buttons from the New Jersey uniforms during the American Revolution. We published plenty of videos this year, but also filmed many more exciting ones that you'll be seeing soon enough in 2025, including many more shipwrecks, ghost towns, and other disasters. Stay tuned, and thank you to each and every one of you who have been tagging along for the journey. A huge thank you as well to the friends of mine who make up my team here: Levi, Alex, Amos, Colin, Eli, Kent, Scotty, Alan, Tad, Stephen, David, and of course my wife Emma, and so many more.